This video is going to be more about the spark and the electrical. Up to this point, we have rebuilt the fuel system, the fuel lines, the fuel pump, fuel filter, also the carburetor we've rebuilt, and we've done the impeller, the water pump, and changed the gear oil. It is running better, but it's not starting regularly and it's not idling very well. And then I noticed when I checked the spark that I'm not getting a consistent spark. I was getting a spark in both plugs, both cylinders, but it's intermittent. And so that tells me it could be something up top, which means we're going to have to try and remove the flywheel, which I didn't want to have to do, kind of a pain. And I don't have the puller or basically the equipment you're supposed to use to get the flywheel off. So I came up with this little hack. I don't know if it's going to work. I got a little vice grip up here, and I'm to try and hold it in place. And I'm just going to use a little breaker bar to try and get this nut up top released here, which is the first step, because all of our ignition coils, points, the stator are underneath the flywheel. And so in order to check out that stuff to see why we're not getting a consistent spark, we're going to have to try and remove this. So here goes. Okay, that actually worked. Got that loosened up. Okay, so what I want to do now is just loosen this bolt, but not take it all the way out. I don't know if I can get that little lip up there. This under this ring is just the bolts that you would use if you're using a puller, but we're not using a puller, so I don't even know that I'll need to take that all the way off. I might be able to get it up easier if I take that off, though. Okay, so this will reveal the bolts if you were using a puller, but what we're going to do is just screw this nut back down and then just make sure that it's flush with that the crankshaft there. That way you don't ruin the threads when you hammer it, because that could be a problem. And then what we want to do is just find a spot, probably going to have to be over here, where we can put some pressure. Make sure there's nothing important under there, no gears or anything like that. You might even want to go in here. I'm going to have to try and do that. And then I'm just going to tap on the top here, and hopefully by putting some pressure there. Let me move this up here. Okay, just put some, this is flush here. Just going to put some pressure on this and just hit this with the banger here. See if I can loosen it. Ooh, looks like we got that loosened. Let's just take this off, this nut here. Okay, and flywheel removal without a puller. There we are. Okay, and this is what we're going to be looking at here to see if we have any problems that are causing that spark. Okay, so we have our flywheel off. I've tried to find out why we're getting intermittent spark, and I've done some tests on the coils here. You have one coil, two coils. Your points are here and here, 2 points. You have your two capacitors. I don't have the tools to be able to test that, but I have tested the coils. Really, I'm not going to go into detail, but you just get multimeter that will test ohms, set it for ohms, and then you would just put, you have your green wire here and the black wire that are both coming out of the capacitors. You would touch those together and you want to get between 1 and 3 ohms on these, which I did on both. Again, these two would be over here, and then you would test. I don't know if it matters which one, but you'd put a meter here and then a meter through this plug wire here, and you want it between 3,000 and 10,000, I believe it is. But I checked all that stuff out. It's not the best meter I have, but it seems like from what I can tell so far that the coils are okay. So the next thing I want to do is clean out the points a little bit and then make sure they're gapped to 0.020, which is what the spec is on this engine. So in order to do that, I guess we'll show this a little here. Get my little headlamp on. Okay, so we have this little nut that's on the camshaft here, and it has this, I don't know if we can see that, but it says top on it, right down there. Where is it? Let's see if we can see the top. There's a word on it that says top, and when the top is on this skirt of the point here, so the word top right there, where are we? It says it right here on this little, see that T-O-P right there, and then this point has a little skirt, a little black skirt on the edge of the point, so the P of the top should be right there on that skirt, and then that is when the points here should be opened up to the 0.020, and then the same on the other side. So we're gonna put this nut back on here. This nut, we're gonna just kind of screw it on. And I have it set here, and let me show this one more time. I have the top that's already set in the right position on this side, and then this part of the point here is the part that kind of opens up. So the first thing I'm going to do is sand in between. I'm just using, I guess it's 150 grit. That's all I had laying around. I might have to rip that. Yeah, so I just cut a little piece of the sandpaper down there while we're open here, and I'm just gonna hit that on both sides. And to tell you the truth, you can actually let me show you this. You could see this screw here on the point is the anchor screw, just anchors the point in, and then this screw will loosen that. So if you, let's get this going here. Okay, that, okay. I'm trying to hold this camera and do it at the same time. Okay, so as I'm loosening this, you see the points opening up there, getting wider. I'm gonna open them up. Okay. These points actually seem like they're a little off center. I want to see if I can move this a little bit centered. Let's move this over. And then to gap it, you just need one of these feeler gauges, and this is the gap for 0.020. So when that P of the top is on that skirt, that's when these points should be open to the proper gap. And so you want this to be, so you know, that is maybe a little too easy to go through. Because that spark, when the gap is open, that's when it sparks. When it's closed, it won't spark. And so I'm going to close it up a little bit. Oops. I'm going to put this camera down for a second. Okay, so I'm just going to close that gap a tiny bit more. So if it moves the point, then it's too narrow of a gap. It's got to go through with some friction, but will not move the point out. Okay. Right when it's on that top. Okay, I think that's perfect. Just show you here how it's not moving the point arm out, but it's got some friction going through it right as the top P, see that, is on that black skirt. Okay, that is perfect. Just make sure this is on tight here. Let's tighten this in, and then I'm just going to double check it once I tighten that point in. Okay. All right, I like it. Okay, now, since the two sides open and close at opposite times, in order to do the other point, we have to have the top go over to the skirt over here. So in order to do that, I've screwed the nut back on, and then we just move it until the top. Hang on a second. I'm trying to do this all. Okay, it's got to be nut all the way down. And that should start moving the camshaft here. Or am I going the wrong way? Okay, there we go. Okay, now we're moving the camshaft around till that P on the top is right on that skirt there. Looks to be perfect, and see how our gap on the points on this side is now open where it was closed before. So now we're gonna open it up, sand it, and then check the gap too to make sure it's gapped at 0.20. So it's good, some friction going through, but it doesn't move the point back. That seems good. Right when the P is in position there on this side. Okay, so now I'm just gonna screw this flywheel back on. I'm gonna connect all these connectors, screw the flywheel back on. Not super tight, I just want to be able to pull and see if I can get any spark. I'm gonna test the spark again. Another thing I want to do is check out these boots. Looked like a little dirty on the metal down there, just to make sure the spark plugs are getting connected in the boot section there. So I put a little of this liquid soap down there just to try and work it out of there. Just go back and forth with it. Oh, there we are. Okay, let's see. Okay, there's that. It goes through. Okay, there's one. Okay. Okay. Put this down there. save these boots. They look like they're not too bad. Okay. And that part right there. Let's see here. See if we can get that out of there. Bending it up or anything. Okay, and that was just the wires like that. Some of these wires look maybe a little frayed, like we might want to just clip and then hook in again, but we'll see. Okay, I got the boots cleaned up a little. What I want to do is just knock a little bit of this end off here. Okay, expose more of that wire there. All right. Okay, so I've got these off to the point where we've got the wires exposed. Just going to spread them out. Hopefully that's, I don't know, where it looks okay. Just clip a tiny bit of it. And our boots here, or our wires here. Just put these in, and I want to do it with the needle nose, just to get these clips in here that are going to go down the wire. That right in the middle of the wire. All right, I'm just going to spray some of this deep creep into the boots that I've already cleaned out there. And this is going to be a tough part to do, but getting these back in there. Now let's just take a look down there. Looks pretty good. Okay. And the same here. Okay, so the wires are clipped and they're back on. All right, now putting the flywheel back on, just want to make sure there's a little groove here for the keyway. There's a keyway right here, and that's how it stays on there. See that keyway? So you just want to make sure that the flywheel fits into that groove. It's the most important part. Everything is buttoned up. Okay. I don't want to put it on too tight because I'm just trying to test it. Okay, so it looks like I'm getting a more consistent spark than I was. So what I'm going to do is just torque the flywheel down, and I'm probably just going to test it out on the bucket of water again, see how she runs this time.